Muy buenos días, solo para informarles que vamos a estar
We would just like to inform you that we will be available in Spanish, English, and Portuguese on IICA's network. Please keep your microphones closed at all times and enable it only when you are offered the floor. Your camera, please turn that on, your video camera, so that this can be seen on the network media. Okay, once again, Emmanuel Picaldo at your service here at IICA headquarters. Today, we will continue with our forum called Bridging the Digital Divide in Rural Areas of Latin America and the Caribbean. We are about to begin our third session, Experiences in Digital Agriculture. All these sections, as well as in all these sessions, as well as in the forthcoming one on Thursday, we will talk about the importance in rural areas of taking connectivity there. And today, we would like to pay a special tribute to the rural world under the administration of Dr. Manuel Otero here at the headquarters. We built a rural home, respecting all the construction standards for a rural home. So we want to pay tribute to this rural world. And for that reason, we want to share with you a brief video that shows all this initiative. So I would like to ask my colleagues to click on the video. This is an IICA initiative, the typical rural home. It pays tribute to the inhabitants in the rural areas of the Americas. And it is a site for dialogue between agriculture and other activities. It is located at IICA headquarters, following the typical construction. This is, notice the wood and the different types of materials used, and we strengthen ties with the local community.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Para iniciar con la sesión, quiero compartir la palabra con el señor subdirector general, Lloyd. Señor subdirector.
Gracias, don Emanuel. Bienvenidos a la tercera sesión del Foro Hemisférico, Reducción de Brecha Digital en las Zonas Rurales de América Latina y el Caribe, hacia una revolución agrícola digital. En esta ocasión vamos a compartir algunas de las experiencias en el uso de herramientas específicas en la agricultura y el medio rural de las Américas, con sus características, potencial y algunas lecciones aprendidas. La ponencia inicial de esta sesión estará a cargo de Federico Meyer sobre tecnologías que están transformando el mundo rural. Federico Meyer es ingeniero de producción agropecuaria y máster en administración de empresas, con 10 años de experiencia en puestos gerenciales. Es cofundador de Global Technos, así como CEO y cofundador del Club Agtech en Argentina. Enfocado en promover la aplicación de soluciones innovadoras según las necesidades de los productores, cuenta con una amplia red de contactos en las Américas, incluyendo, bueno, en mi casa, el Silicon Valley. Don Federico, le comparto la palabra.
Muchas gracias. En primer lugar, quiero celebrar la organización de este foro, felicitar a la IICA por esto y agradecerles la posibilidad de permitirme ser parte. Quiero ver si se ve. ¿Se ve bien la presentación? ¿Se está compartiendo?
Todavía no.
A ver, ¿estoy autorizado a compartir la pantalla?
Can I share my screen yet?
Sí, adelante, por favor.
Yes, go ahead,
Necesito
please.
autorización para compartir la pantalla.
Can I share the screen? Can I do it from here?
Sí lo tienes en la parte
Yes, you
inferior.
do. On the bottom part of the Zoom, there is a green button that says screen share.
En la parte inferior en el centro.
Share screen, excuse me. You can see it down at the bottom.
Sí, mil disculpas.
Okay, my apologies, excuse me.
Ya estamos.
Okay, now we can see you.
Ahí va apareciendo, ¿no?
Now you can see it? Yes, much better.
Decía entonces, nuestra civilización en general y el sector
Our
agropecuario
civilization in general and the agriculture in general is facing great challenges. Some of them require, quote and unquote, to only produce more, but others are challenged by their own survival. These challenges we see amidst the technological digital revolution that offers us tools with a power that we could have never imagined a few years ago and is now available basically to all of those that can access digital world. That is why this step is so important. The 77 million of people in the Americas that live in rural world are not just 77 million vulnerable people. These are 77 million opportunities to overcome the major challenges mentioned. They know their land, they produce in it, and they have a lot to contribute.
esta revolución tecnológica
This technological revolution is a big challenge,
nos atraviesa, es muy diferente
and
de
it is much different from those in the
está
past.
basada en la
It is
información,
based on information and
tasas
takes place and is growing at exponential
exponenciales.
rate.
Hoy tengamos en
So
nuestro celular
now on our cell phones, we have 256,000 more opportunities to calculate than we could before. And all of this is in the hands of those of us that participate in this digital world and that has a deep linkage to our physical activities. We can no longer conceive these two realities as something separate, past and present. How does agriculture participate in this revolution? Well, for different reasons that we do not have time to examine. This is one of the less digitalized sectors of the economy, and that is why we need to carry out this digital transformation in agriculture. What is this all about? Well, it is to adapt our activities, the people, that of the organizations, to generate language and at a level that people can understand through the tools available to generate new solutions that will combine with each other. For this adaptation to take place, the human work is indispensable. We need to do away with fears, recognize opportunities and possibilities, gain the competencies, and organize ours differently. What for? If we go back to the challenges we face as an industry, if we need to be more productive and more careful with the environment, well, with what tools can we do this? This is the reason why we need to generate this digital agricultural revolution. To move this forward, the main challenge we have is to ensure that everyone understands that these powerful tools do not apply to the world that we used to know. These technologies are now changing the entire world. Information that historically was focused in the hands of a few generated decentralized structures, making changes be very slow. We had to be efficient to do anything. However, nowadays, this transformation is within everyone's reach. once again,
de todos aquellos
of all those
que tienen la
that
posibilidad
have the possibility to take part in it.
Si queremos entonces
Then,
generar
if we want to generate a digital revolution,
todos los actores
all actors
tienen que entender,
need to
comenzando
understand,
por políticas públicas,
beginning with public policies and all the private players need to understand this clearly. Private sector must explore new business models. A public sector must adjust the regulatory frameworks so that these business models can move forward.
debemos destrabar la creatividad
We need to do away with obstacles to creativity to unleash the potential of the world. The tools are there. We are not limited to start from scratch building a company. The main challenge we have ahead of us is to understand that this new world demands a new culture, understanding by culture as the way in which we do things. We can solve major challenges nowadays. We have the tools, but the tools are all, that's all they are. To assign them a value, we have to change the way we organize ourselves. And here, IICA and its DG are setting the pace. I do not want to repeat that data that has been presented last week and that we are aware of, but I apologize for presenting it this way. There are no technological exclusions to not close this gap. We need to integrate, bring all these people on board, and for that we need two elements: infrastructure and digital literacy. Not too many years ago, integrating rural and urban areas, it represented so many challenges that could not be addressed because of budgetary and complexity reasons. With the powerful tools and the drop in prices, this is now possible. Today, the necessary structure is a device for the user to interact. We're talking about less than $50. We need to have electricity for the device to work. And solar energy makes this very affordable now. And we have to provide connectivity. No doubt, this point is the critical point. We all wish to have a broadband connection anywhere on Earth. And there is not much more to go before this becomes reality. Starlink is creating a combination of about 40,000 lower orbit satellites and is testing this commercially. To make this available, we still have to wait about 3 or 5 more years. To integrate those that are in the rural areas, do we really need the latest fiber optics technology? While all of this occurs, we need a huge installed capacity in space because of the geostationary satellites that can provide communication services. This is enabled through new technologies that allow greater efficiency and reduction of operating costs and the use of broadband, different bands. And this is added to new technologies that allow to collaborate among the different actors and distributing the signal. Telefónica and Facebook, together with CAF and Minivest, launched an internet program for everyone in Peru. This is an open model that has taken mobile 4G technology to so many people in the rural areas in that country. And with every point in development, every percentage point in the development of the digital ecosystem, there is a 0.15% growth in GDP. With this, we can generate enough business models. Excuse me, we lost the audio. I apologize. The world is working in a different manner. States can collaborate, providing access to existing infrastructure. Could the telecommunications company join a peasant to work on this? There's a completely different world out there. The limitation is not technological. Now, to not understand this does become a limitation. If we put an encyclopedia in the face of someone that does not know how to read, although they would have all the knowledge available to them, they cannot tap it. So we need to train people to participate in the digital world. With the infrastructure, we can decentralize this, and we can generate an education training by giving digital content, and we can measure the level of understanding generated by each of those that receive any training. And with this, at the end of the process, everyone learns. 10 years ago, Coca-Cola created the Coca-Cola Business School. It was not aimed at its executives. It was aimed at all the chain, more than 700,000 points. In that academy, they taught the owners of small and medium stores and all the way from cost and how to sell better, and they participated exchanging in a virtual world, something similar to what the Khan Academy that created the concept of the flipped classroom. And if we cannot take connectivity to each home, it will not be possible to bring this connectivity to the schools the children go to the squares in the different communities. We need to articulate specific solutions, but the possibilities exist. And allow me to give you one more example of how technology is not a limitation. ENESA creates training via SMS, message services. In Africa, they contribute to the education of more than 10 million people. Well, we need to generate the content, yes. How many people are there organized in NGOs that aim at improving the life of the least favored? Once again, if we can look at the world through other different eyes, we will see abundant resources within our reach. In the private world, state-of-the-art technologies have already incorporated some of these technologies. And with satellite imagery, they build indices that together with machinery that can measure the yield per square meter, they have improved agriculture, precision agriculture, reducing the use of herbicides in 80%, saving in seeds and fertilizers in up to 20%. And the same occurs with irrigation water, just to mention a few cases. These savings help measure impact and inform consumers through blockchain traceability methods and artificial intelligence and automation. All of these are challenging the network of producers. This also allows to generate pest warnings, weather events, and commercial information that is used by all participants in the network. Those that are outside the network not only cannot tap these advantages, but they cannot generate it for others, and they do not generate information for others. Now, well, if we can help them through connectivity and we can integrate their knowledge and help them be more productive, then we can integrate them, giving them access to markets. I ask, what is the role of asymmetry of information when placing production or purchasing inputs? How much can we improve logistics? I recommend to look at the case of Colombia, the people of Cultivando el Futuro, growing the future. And if we can integrate them into the marketplace, we can generate means of payment or payment methods.
Hola, hola.
Hello, hello. Yes, we can hear you, Val. Go ahead. If we can generate market access, digital market access, or with the help of digital methods, we can help them with the payment methods. What is the impact of their being able to pay or charge through digital means, avoiding to have to move into urban areas for this? In the case of M-Pesa in Kenya, they reached 2/3 of the adult population in Kenya using this through SMS and through basic cell phones, as we can see on the image. Something was done similar in India, and there are so many other examples like this. With the payment methods, we can give them access to credit. By banking these people and generating digital currency, we can provide financial services like credits or pay interest rates for the money they save. M-Shwari is a business unit of M-Pesa that manages these services. And additionally, we can offer insurance against weather events and medical insurance. These are examples in different aspects of the life of farmers. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have the technology. What we have to realize, though, is how to better adapt it, to better use it. This way, it differs from what we had been doing in the past. And also, in this case, each person counts. For this reason, it was never as easy the utopia of integrating everyone. We have to realize three different things. First of all, technology and human capital to move this forward is available. As was said, digital integration generates wealth. The other thing left to do yet is to change the way we address these problems. Not only as opposed to Sarmiento, a president of Argentina that talked about educating to avoid fear. It is more than a moral a need. It is something we just need to do, period. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much, Don Federico, for your presentation. Very interesting for me, because I was thinking of when you put up that slide with the calculator there and how the world has changed. I remember so clearly my first calculator. And then I also remember writing down my essays and my papers here and then typing them with my typewriter. But then when I got to the university, then the computer, for word processing, for an email, we had that. But at the computer lab in Silicon Valley, please. But since the world has changed now we all have this on hand, 256 times more powerful. And that is so impressive. So thank you so very much for your context and for taking us down memory lane. I remember a concert of a famous band, YouTube. They were thinking of overcoming a problem of humanity. And if we could put a man on the moon, and now a vehicle on Mars, so I'm sure we can do something much better here on Earth. And your presentation has been very, very interesting. Thank you so very much. Now, I would like to introduce the moderator of this session, Enrique Hennings. Mr. Hennings is a technical specialist in markets and rural businesses of the International Agricultural Development Fund, IFAD. Enrique is an agricultural engineer and has a master's in agroindustry, and is also a candidate to a PhD in agricultural economics from the University of Illinois, USA. Before joining the fund, Enrique was a senior partner of Consulting for Development and Market Innovation, and was senior manager of the global unit for funding of producers in Fair Trade International, supervising Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Don Enrique, I offer you the floor.
Thank you very much, Lloyd, for that introduction and for inviting me to participate in this very important event on reducing the digital divide in Latin America and to moderate this panel on experiences in digital agriculture. Before continuing, I'd like to congratulate Federico as well for his great presentation. There's no doubt that we are living changing times, and this has fostered development in technology. And the rural sector is also undergoing a transformation without precedent. And as Federico said, a digital technological revolution. Before continuing with the panelists' presentations, I'd like to briefly introduce you or share some of the initiatives of IFAD and what we're doing to reduce the digital divide in digital areas, and especially agriculture and small producers, poor small farmers. I think you can see the presentation on screen.
Perfecto. Bien, podemos ponerla en eso, exactamente. Y
Okay, now
pasamos.
we see it, and I'm sure that most of those present here have seen this map before. It shows the number of users in different areas of the world and penetration of internet in each region. As you can see in Latin America, Central and South America, it's not the lowest penetration of internet, but of course it's not the one with the highest penetration either. In Latin America, we have about 453 million users. This means that over 200 million people do not have access to internet and to these services. Most of them are located in rural areas and have high levels of poverty. Federico said 77 million living in rural areas. Just to give you some context, there is a large group of people that are still not connected and do not have access to these services. The digital divide at first was attributed to underdevelopment, and it was seen as something passing that would disappear when technology became more popular or widespread. But this divide persists today in spite of the massive marketing of devices that offer internet access. It can be related to high prices of devices, to a lack of knowledge on how to use them. There's several reasons. But to go over some of the different gaps that have caused this, there's gaps in access or the possibilities of having this resource available. And here we have socioeconomic differences among people or countries because digitalization requires investment in expensive infrastructure that might be too expensive for least developed areas or rural areas. Then we have gaps in usage. Here it refers to the skills needed to use technology. For example, the International Telecommunications Union states that today we have 40 countries where half of their population do not know how to attach a file to an email. And we also have a gap on quality of use. Sometimes digital skills are available for using internet, but not truly taking the most advantage of it. It's especially related to quality and importance of information. Of course, these depend on a series of variables. It has to do with age, gender, social standing, and others. But all these gaps have consequences on the development of agriculture for rural areas. There's a lack of communication. They can be isolated. There's also gender issues, migration of young people to urban areas. Most countries in Latin America and the Caribbean are still undergoing just the beginning, the first stages of ownership of this technology, and it's mainly in medium and large size farms and producers. Countries have made efforts to improve access to technologies, but now is the time to truly ensure they are incorporated into rural areas, the rural population, and truly applied in the sector to ensure the digital inclusion we are striving for. So IFAD, in trying to collaborate to reduce this gap, approved a new strategy, ICT4D, in 2020, and an operational plan. The objective of this strategy is to create a framework that can help use information and communication technologies to have greater impact in development and improve social and economic conditions of the population, increasing agricultural productivity, participation in markets, and home resilience. There are 4 pillars in this strategy: adopting ICT for the scalable solutions that can start with one project and later be expanded to other countries and other regions. Second, strengthening strategic alliances for ICT4D. And this involves several organizations and partners. It's not something anyone can do on their own. That's why IFAD tries to ensure we can improve all these alliances with important stakeholders in the region. The third pillar is to improve management and exchange of ICT4D knowledge, creating more product, more knowledge, increasing digitalization and digital literacy, as we heard from Federico as well. And finally, raising awareness and training and leadership in ICT-related matters internally, especially for IFAD, through innovation labs, Moonshot for Development, and different initiatives we have. The main focus areas for these 4 pillars are set forth in the initiative, and they are aimed at increasing access to information, including markets and climate information, inclusive finance and services, and strengthening ICT solutions for an impact in agricultural development. So as part of the action plan, IFAD has developed different initiatives in the region following the 4 pillars of the previous slide. I won't give all the details, but I do want to name a few to show what direction we are moving in. IFAD has created an online tracking tool to map all ICT4D solutions that are developed or adopted in our portfolio of projects. It has started in Asia and the Pacific, and we will soon begin in Latin America and the Caribbean. We've created a platform, Harvest, which is a strategic e-trade solution for producers' organizations to formalize commercial relations between suppliers and buyers. It has a courier service that is integrated, tools to help plan harvests and plan deliveries, and it will soon have an integrated credit module that can leverage commercial relations of these types. We also created AgriPlan, which is a digital platform to prepare business plans that are bankable, that can help producers' organizations have well-structured plans with everything necessary to bring to a financial institution. And they're easy to follow and something that can be done by different level of organizations in terms of their maturity and preparation. We also supported the creation of another app for community banks because there's a large group of producers that are non-bankable, and with digitalization, they can begin to have some relations and ties to financial institutions. There's also a geoportal under development, and we are also participating with the IDB here, which is a digital map of fintech and agritech companies to visualize the technological and service offerings of companies in all the region. And finally, intensive use of information systems in designing all our operations, supervision, and others.
Para darles una idea, actualmente tenemos...
So currently we have about 9 projects in the region, or I should say we are present with new projects in the region in 9 countries. We have 12 projects total with a strong emphasis on ICT, and they're all trying to reduce the digital divide. We have at least 4 large ones, one to foster e-commerce in Latin America, and the other one on agritech and fintech companies that want to extend services to farmers, which are the target group of the IFAD. And to share some of the lessons learned in executing our programs and in the experience with digitalization, there are many lessons. First, to support the incorporation of ICT technologies for development of the whole system, we need systems, tools, and leadership internally. If there's no strategy for institutional development, people don't really have the tools and the orientation needed to systematically use technologies throughout. Alliances have to be well defined to be effective. and have better results. So the best experiences we've had are based on great alliances that are well designed and partners that have known how to participate proactively. Exchanging knowledge for ICTs in development helps stimulate their incorporation. So we have to create knowledge and especially share it. That's an important part of the things we're doing today in sharing these experiences, these presentations for today's event. And with that, I think we can go ahead and introduce the panelists. We will begin with Mr. Germán Otálora. He is an Airband Initiative Program Manager for Latin America, specifically focusing on high priority markets like Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and Chile, working closely with internal and external Microsoft partners to help connect millions of Latin Americans that are not connected. So he will be sharing the information on Airband Initiative. Germán, you have the floor. Thank you, Enrique. I chose not to bring a presentation because I'd just like to tell you about what we are doing and the connection we have to the efforts many of you are doing in terms of agriculture, business, and rural entrepreneurship. For some time now, about 5 years ago at Microsoft, we decided to work on connectivity matters. We have seen that connectivity is fundamental in rural areas to help people access resources and services that are not just essential, but also services and resources that can help them have a better quality of life. I will refer to Federico's presentation a lot because I think it was a great presentation. It's the basis of much of what we are also doing. So the most outstanding point there for me was that we have the technology, it's there, it exists. And there's a possibility of bringing great differences to our countryside. So what we have to change is how we think, how we see things, and how we are incorporating technology. Beyond that also, how we allow technology to help us. This can be because we do it voluntarily or involuntarily. So this again is vital. We believe that technology may not necessarily help us as much as we need, or because we're talking about agriculture, we don't really see how technology can have a relevant role. But what we've realized is with the projects we've done, emphasizing on coffee, cocoa, cotton, and livestock farming, technology does play a vital role, where producers and farmers can be much more efficient. And I'll let you know what I mean by this in a second. They can be more productive, they can have greater quality products, and they have access to markets. Federico talked about access to markets, and I'm going to start there and then go back. Market access is absolutely essential for all entrepreneurs that have their projects, their agricultural ideas. And we always tell them that they should try and see how they themselves can add value to their products. For example, with cotton. If I sell cotton just as I bring it off the plant, it doesn't really have added value. But if I start combing it, if I start sorting it and removing debris, I'm adding value that can help me sell it either faster or at a better price, or sell it to other purchasers and in other conditions. So we always tell farmers and producers that they should think about how to add value from their own skills. So as they add more value to their products, they can sell them better. And again, there I will touch on something Federico mentioned. We have the technology, but we have to change our mindset. For all these entrepreneurs, which are agriculturally based, we always emphasize that these are long-term efforts. You can't think that because we already have an email address or a virtual shop, an online store, that we can sell our products through the internet and buy inputs through internet, that's the end of it. We have to show them that the more time they spend and the more effort they use to develop their ideas, the more they will receive income, profit, benefits through technology. Unfortunately, sometimes, and for certain types of producers, they tend to have a view on the short term. Sometimes because of the way crops work, um, others have a longer term view. For example, a mango tree has to wait at least 4 years to give fruit. And for cacao, it's the same thing or similar. And the coffee, you have to wait for a year and a half to have your first harvest. But traditionally, farmers tend to look at the short view, the short term. So we have to work on having them change their mindset to a long-term view. And the more you dedicate your efforts, the more you will receive. The second point refers to productivity. Technology certainly helps me access rural extension and technical assistance. And if I make it easier to understand and to access, the more producers will be able to truly bring this productivity to their crops and their products. But it's important to try and do this in real time and to give it to them, to bring it to their own hands. You can't expect an agricultural engineer through a program that does rural extension to take 3 months to go visit a farm, because in 3 months a pest can go through the whole harvest. Or if you do not use the right fertilizer and you don't act in a timely manner, then your crop can fail, your whole harvest can be lost. So we do see great possibilities to exponentially increase productivity of producers. The third point refers to efficiency. We've worked on coffee or with coffee growers and cacao growers in Colombia on efficiency. And this is based on a simple fact of starting to record your costs. Producers, and especially smaller producers, don't really record their costs. They're not really aware of how much a sack is a fertilizer costs. They don't know if last year it cost $2 or $3 and why this year they should pay a different price, or if it should be a similar one or with a very small increase. So they generally do not have a record of their costs and don't truly understand how much they're winning or losing on top of their crop. Are you following? I saw somebody saying they couldn't hear me. Are you following? Yes, yes. So this is a very simple thing to do. I think someone is telling me they can't follow, but others are letting me know. So I'll continue. So this is a simple exercise. that allows farmers to just use a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, to know exactly how much they are earning and how much more they could earn if they do a good exercise of bringing their costs down permanently, recording them, and with that, being able to, uh, when they are going to sell their crop, to truly price it as it should be, not necessarily based on what others are telling them or on what they believe, but based on the efforts they have uh, implemented into getting that. And the other thing I wanted to say is related to use and ownership. Producers, and even us many times, it's happened to many technology companies, we tend to think that the best solution is something that already works well elsewhere, or what we believe might be the one that has the greatest success opportunities. But really, the best solution is one that involves producers and one that allows them to be part of the solution. The initial solution might not necessarily be fully technological or as complex as we would have wanted to or as we conceived initially, but it's the solution that will work for them and that will work best for them. I'll give you an example of a project in Colombia. We brought connectivity to coffee growers. We took a weather station, and it was a spectacular weather station. It recorded all types of data related to rainfall, pH of the soil, temperature, wind, etc. And we would bring all that up to the cloud, analyze it, and send back to farmers' cell phones information on when they had to irrigate the crop. And after all that exercise and everything, we told coffee growers, okay, here you go. You will receive in at your cell phone a message telling you how much and when you have to irrigate. And they said, okay, well, that's great. I think that's interesting. But really, we don't irrigate coffee at all. We just wait for it to rain. We know relatively well how and when it will rain. And if there's too much rain, there's not much we can do. And we can't do much if there's too little rain either. So um, it's how we've always done water with the crop. So we never thought about this before when we were conceiving this in our meeting rooms, and we never truly went to the field to see how they might use this or how it would be useful. But they told us, if you truly want to help us, allow us to have an application that helps me access coffee prices in real time so that at 7 or 8 a.m. I can know exactly what price it's going for, and I can then decide to sell my coffee or not. And that's how I can ensure I can win a certain differential. So again, these can be very simple solutions that have a direct impact on them and that involve them. That's very important in all these types of initiatives and anything else you'd like to do. And that's it for me. Thank you, Germán. That was actually your time. So perfect timing. Thank you so much. We will leave questions to the end to ensure we use the time as best we can. So thank you very much for your presentation. And now we are going to Mr. Keith Agoada, who is a co-founder and current CEO of Producers Market, which is a digital platform to link producers to the market, and it tries to eliminate intermediaries through digital technologies. He graduated from Wisconsin School of Business, and he's worked for over 13 years on different projects with value chains, designing systems to ensure farmers are empowered. Keith will be sharing thoughts on Producers Market. Keith, you have the floor.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos y es un honor para estar aquí con ustedes. Y Creo que yo voy a presentar
Thank you very much. If you do not mind, I will present in English since we have interpretation available. Let me start.
in preparation for this presentation and this very important forum. I took a moment to try to step back and look beyond the technology to understand, what is the root of our challenges and what are we really trying to solve here? And in context, we have a scenario where many small farmers, if not the majority, have been in poverty for hundreds of years. And we see a complex context of challenges that we've categorized into the following areas. One is the poor and inefficient crop selection and growing practices. Another is the poor post-harvest infrastructure and quality control mechanisms, and therefore access to market and transportation. The poor access to financing and financial services to improve the growing infrastructure, as well as the post-harvest infrastructure, as well as the ability to handle the terms that are required by many downstream buyers. And then there's this lack of aggregation organization with other small farmers to be able to reach scaled markets. And in general, we find that many farmers do not have access to education, in general business education, that they don't see farming as a real business, and that they don't have either access or understanding of whether it's farming technology or digital information technologies, and oftentimes weak reading and writing skills. So altogether, the odds are stacked up against the small farmer. And this is a situation globally where we've seen reports of more than 1 billion small farmers that are in deep poverty. And so what we see is actually a scenario with great hope and optimism. And the reason I think behind that is twofold. One is technology, that we're now in a situation where, as the first presentation Federico shared so brilliantly, farmers can have now in their pocket, or people in their communities, the power of a computer that wasn't even existing on planet Earth 50 years ago. And secondly, we see a huge shift in the changing demands of the consumer, that over the past 20 years, and this is just, shooting up like a rocket, consumers are demanding better quality in their products. And when we define quality, it's not just the health and nutrition or nutrients or minerals, but quality is now increasingly has a qualitative terminology. And this qualitative terminology is around what is the impact? What is the environmental impact? What is the carbon now impact, the water impact, the social impact? What is the impact on the farmer, the farm worker, the processing facility, the workers of that facility, and the community that surrounds it? And now more than ever, we've seen a just huge demand where consumers are demanding of their brands, of their retailers, of the groups that provide their consumer products, that they are commanding of them to have impacts that align to their values of uplifting, the workers, of the farmers, of the land, in the products they consume. And this is not just happening in the United States and Europe, it's now happening in Asia, it's happening in Latin America, it's happening in Africa, it's happening in the Caribbean. So we see that there's this twofold convergence of opportunity that can greatly shift the welfare and well-being of small farmers in Latin America and the Caribbean through the combination of making the technology more impactful, more accessible, more widespread, digital technology, especially around data capture. And secondly, connecting the desire of consumers to have products that are transparent, traceable, but also have these uplifting impacts with the demand of the producer to connect to these markets. And by combining these two converging trends, we believe that there's an unprecedented moment of impacting and uplifting farmers into a new form of prosperity that can really pull a lot of farmers out of poverty and into a really large increase in their revenues. And so the question is, okay, how? Conceptually and contextually, I think it's clear there is this mega opportunity, but how will it take shape? I think the first thing to recognize is the concept of the crowd economy, the gig economy, the sharing economy, that there is now millions of people in their 20s and 30s in Latin America that have smartphones, that know how to use applications, that constantly are taking photos and videos, are able to do online education, and that there's a new opportunity to create this model of the agripreneur, as it's being called, where young people around the world can find a profession that is completely scalable and decentralized and distributed, where they're able to learn how to work and support services of farmers, whether it's tutorials and training or information on the ground in terms of planting schemes, in terms of crop selection, or in terms of post-harvest data capture around taking photos and videos of harvests, connecting that data into buyer demands, into aggregation centers, organizing transportation, logistics, financial services, markets, social media integration, that all of these different connectivity points can occur through the data capture and the sharing of data in the form of qualitative, quantitative information to the different support services, to the market, and ultimately to have that data, that content, that information reach the downstream retailers and reach the brands that communicate and interact with consumers. And we're actually seeing this movement of retailers and brands who want to connect their producer stories to the consumer. We see it happening in Latin America at a very fast pace. We're seeing it in Central America, in Panama, Costa Rica. We're seeing it in Peru, that they're recognizing their consumers indeed want to know who their farmers are and where the source of production comes from. So it's not just a solution that needs to be exporting to Germany or California or France, but actually the solutions can occur both in Latin America, in the Caribbean, as well as for export markets. And one major concept around this movement and how data and agripreneurs and the digitization of farmers can be a major source of revenue increases and profitability is around the secondary and tertiary crops. There's been a market-driven push for commodities to be the focus, whether it's cacao or coffee or bananas or other major export crops. And what happens is the farmers oftentimes are left with the other crops that are grown secondarily on their plantations, whether it's for a cash crop for local markets or it's intercropping for shade, and that there is a whole range of harvests that either don't make it to market or make it to market at very, very low cost. And unfortunately, this is not a focus for the major brands, the major exporters, distributors who focus almost solely on these mega commodity crops. And so we think there's also an opportunity to help market and share the information of what are farmers and producers growing, what are cooperatives organizing, and finding markets for these products locally as well as regionally and internationally. And finally, by aggregating not just what is being grown in that supply, but aggregating demands for us to understand what is being demanded by processors, packers, downstream consumer packaged goods brands, distributors, retailers, that we can start to look at demand-driven infrastructure development, leveraging the markets, leveraging commitments from markets in the form of contracts to bring in infrastructure development, finance, processing, packing, digitization, and allowing for the development of technology, the development of outputs, processing, to be driven by markets. And we believe all of this can flourish within a closed loop digital environment where data can be shared with integrity, with the integrity of the farmers, with the integrity of the consumers, but that this data holds really the power through an omni-channel architecture layer, through an integration of data, that we can start to really understand where the opportunities are for production, aggregation,
Kate, I will need to
ultimately
stop you there.
Sure.
Because we are all over the time and we need to pass to the next ones, ¿no? Thank you very much for the presentation. Gracias, Kate, por la presentación. Pero tenemos que seguir con los siguientes
Thank you,
panelistas.
Keith, but we have to continue with the next panelist. Allow me to finish with two phrases.
So what we're really here to share with Producers Market, which is our network of producers. Storybird is our application connecting value chain information for consumer engagement, is the idea of collaboration, that across our platforms, our initiatives, technology, nonprofits, government, businesses, we should be working together to make data shareable and unified so that we could ultimately help farmers and producers connect more efficiently to markets. And thank you, and apologies for going over there.
No, perfect. Thank you very much. Gracias, Kate. Bueno, ahora damos paso a nuestro siguiente panelista.
Now we offer the floor to our next panelist, David Proenza. He is a business entrepreneur in the food area, export and agriculture marketing in Latin America and Europe. Currently, he is director of urban farms in Panama and has more than 30 years of experience with food producing companies. He will refer to farm chains. So go ahead, David. Yes, thank you so very much. Thank you, Lloyd, for allowing me to it's not farm chain, it is food chain. Let me clarify the name, excuse me. I will refer to food chain. We have been working with small producers in rural areas for many years now. And in fact, now with not only with food chain, but also when we were in agro exports. We are producers of agriculture. Well, we have been working with all segments of agro exports for more than 30 years, with all the logistics, packaging, marketing, etc., etc. We started as a small producer. The only difference is that we firmly believe in technology. Ever since I was a youngster, or even younger than I currently am. The thing is that when we started, after many years in agro export, we started with about 10 containers. In a matter of 5 years, we turned that from those 10 containers to almost 800 containers for agro exports. So we went through all the different steps. Also working with small farmers up to 1 hectare or even a bit more. But the main growth we had in that period was because we applied technology in the field, in processing and logistics throughout the entire chain. So when we heard about blockchain, because food chain is based on blockchain and many, a good part of the machine learning, robotics, and the Internet of Things, biosafety, biosecurity, all this technology connected to blockchain. So the development of food chain was, we know about the problems in agriculture from small producers to large producers. So how can we find a solution applying new technologies? So we started to develop different platforms. The first platform that we developed was the agro export platform. And one of the things we focused on was markets, working with actual buyers. In the agri-food chain, there are a lot of intermediaries, and those intermediaries charge significant commissions and interest and fees and all all their fees to handle the product. So many of the intermediaries receive a product from a truck, they download it and upload it on another truck and go out and distribute it. So we needed to solve how to have that traceability and transparency to go direct to actual buyers. The blockchain came about bringing transparency from the field to consumer, but that really did not become a reality. So there are still many intermediaries. We believe that in the future, gradually, we will eliminate those intermediaries that are not contributing value. Some do, but not many. There are really not many. So briefly, I would like to talk about three specific cases Foodchain is working on with small rural producers, one of which are medium and large size producers. But when we were developing Foodchain together with IICA, we held several meetings, gave presentations to different producers, from small producers to large producers. We had the entire ecosystem, supermarkets, technology providers, logistics. There was a whole group of ecosystems. To have the feedback we need, especially for more producers. And one of the things was it had to be easy to use. When we started to explain what blockchain was about and all the technology, a lot of people were not interested. Not even the large producers were interested. And that is where we started to analyze. We needed to have sort of an email system. Sometimes you don't need to know the technical side of this. You just receive an email, you've responded, and the whole system behind that is in charge of technology, and that is the part we have been working on. So for traceability and better marketing and improve our marketing, we have been working through QR codes. Basically, this gives a bioreference of where the producer is. The producer, by clicking on buttons and icons, can then do the entire traceability and tracking of when the planting took place and harvesting and all the logistics, transportation to the plant, and even the planting process. Easy to use, very important for small rural producers. Additionally to that, another example is in the area of Coronado. Here in area, we are working with some very small producers, horticulture, and for them to go directly to consumer and to supermarkets or wholesalers. That was the objective. So we wanted to eliminate the intermediaries that are not contributing value. So we set up a program with those producers, a very specific case with lettuce, where another platform, the Foodchain store. It is a national platform. We can connect consumers so that small producers can sell directly. And many of those producers, one thing missing in the sector is liquidity to produce. So with these producers, what we established was to connect them with consumers so that in the future, the cost of production, and after the producer produces the product, well, then that is delivered to the consumer directly. The scheme we worked on with the producers, was let us see, from $50 to $100 to pay for a product that will be received 3 or 4 months later. But we realized that consumers really do want to help small producers, but they needed to know who they are, what they are, for the consumers to understand the history of that producer, how they produce, the history of that farm or that family, how they produce. And then that is basically traceability from the field. And we realized, well, not investors, but it said some consumers were even offering up to $1,000 to these producers to help them with that. So the producer receives the money, produces the product, or grows the product, and it gives it to the growers. So on X day, on Saturday, I will go over to collect the goods, and they give them to the consumers, and others distribute them to their restaurants or whatever. That is another use case that Foodchain is applying. And the third is a pilot project we are currently working on with the IICA in several countries in Latin America, Uruguay, on traceability with beef, and Peru, traceability of the table grapes, in Mexico with bananas and other similar products. So what we do is basically help the small producers. And I guess this comes from our own track record. We started as small producers, and we know what they have to face and live through. So what we want is, if a small producer has 1 hectare, gradually go, as we have shown them, to start producing on 2, 3, 4 hectares. So that is part of the philosophy of Foodchain. Another thing I would like to make clear is that for small producers from 1 to 10 hectares, we do not charge them for the use of technology. We charge the medium and large size, but not the small ones that use our platforms. Whatever the platform is, traceability, marketing, or other platforms, there is no cost to that producer, that small producer. And in ending, what we have learned is that there are 2 sectors in the rural case: rural producers that do have access to internet, but others that do not. So that has to be a public-private partnership. Private enterprise by itself cannot do it, but the government cannot do it either on its own. So what we do is partner with governments, multilaterals, and private enterprise to include or bring in or bridge that digital divide between small, medium, and large producers in the Latin American region. I usually take 10 hours to present this, but it only took me 10 minutes today. Oh, thank you so much, David. With this, we move to our next panelist, Marcelo Portalupi. He is a doctor in veterinary sciences from the National University of Asunción, from the University of Comunera, master in animal science from Kansas State University, manager of agricultural technology, and FECOPROD Limitada. More than 15 years of experience working in technical assistance with technical producers, and he will refer to the case of FECOPROD. Go ahead. Marcelo, please. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Well, still good morning for many of you. It is a pleasure to greet you and share with you. Thank you so very much, IICA, for the invitation to be able to participate in this forum. Allow me to share my screen to just use a few slides. Can you see it? Yes, we can. Go ahead. FECOPROD is a federation of cooperatives, production cooperatives in Paraguay. A second-tier organization, 34 cooperatives are members in different areas. We have dairy production, beef production, throughout the entire chain, the cold room, agriculture, soy, corn, wheat, the producers, et cetera, So we have multi-active cooperatives. We are celebrating our 45th anniversary currently. And part of the work of this federation is working to improve competitiveness and basically rural development of producers, not only members of the cooperative, but throughout the entire country. We are working very closely with different cooperants that help us develop development projects throughout the country. Here we can see the distribution. The cooperative covers the entire country. but particularly the eastern part and the western Chaco region. My presentation today will focus mostly on the development of technologies for dairy production. We started to work on the dairy program for the Federation ever since 2015. We have been working in the extension model with our dairy producers for about 15 years now. And something that has already been mentioned is that after the Industrial Revolution that began to spread the term entrepreneur and linked to management and administration of companies, the agriculture sector yet today feel they are producers, not agricultural entrepreneurs. And this is the basis for our technical assistance model. In the Federation, we are encouraging a managerial technical assistance concept, managing productive units. The dairy farms in this case, particularly, we work closely with producers, when to produce, how much, when to produce. We insist on recording information to be more efficient and help a better decision-making for their productive models. The objective of our technical assistance logically is that it be profitable, competitive through the technical assistance model, which is basically supported not only by the extension profile, but also the technological platform developed related thereto to support that technician and the producer in the field. Our dairy product program is called Procole. Ever since 2005, using competitiveness, tapping the competitiveness of the dairy sector. And basically, we see all the different areas of production, but also focusing on the whole value chain. Initially, we started off with an Excel template where a spreadsheet where we showed what we had and what we wanted to have with the technical experts and the producers, because we understand that by deciding to develop a management software in this case, we needed to start a whole participatory process to ensure empowerment of these extensionists, understanding that this is a continuous improvement process. This would allow us to advance year on year and bringing in the needs of producers into our management software. Beginning in 2012, with the support of the Federation, we developed Sicole. Basically, it is a dairy control and management system for the area of Tambo. We decided to work on a series of strategies to ensure empowerment, and that at the time of implementing, the software can be massified in the rural area, because this is reflecting the needs of the technical experts and producers. This is what the technological ecosystem of Sicole is like. We have a web-based version now where the producer can interact with all the productive and economic side of Tambo, and the laboratory software, as well as Sicole Smart, which is the cell-based app that is what producers use most in the field. All their queries, they pose through their smartphones. They ask about their cows, and this has had the biggest assistance out in the field. Some examples of the reports received by the technical experts and producers, we had mentioned the part of costs per liter of milk, income per cow, per hectare. We are very much interested in professionalizing the dairy farm. And in this process, logically, there is a strong component of education. And obviously, it is important to train the trainers for this to move forward. Just a few examples of how the SQL Smart looks like. It is linked to the laboratory system, the quality control lab for dairy products. This was built 6 years ago to harmonize criteria, among other things. A few other examples. These are figures received by the producers and technical experts, and what we seek is to be more efficient, more competitive, and logically supported on the records and data. We can see, then take the best decisions and oversee the impact that those recommendations coming from the extensionist can produce in benefit of the producer. All of this is integrated with the laboratory system that also allows the tracking and traceability through dairy samples or milk samples. And with this, the producer can access in real time to the analysis of their milk samples. The industry pays according to the quality of the milk. So together with the extensionists, they can go and supervise the evolution to see if there is any problem and then quickly take corrective actions. Something very important is the whole a network of the technicians or extensionists involved in this platform. All the innovation and continuous improvement processes is of utmost importance. Knowledge management, basically. We have a group of more than 60 technical experts working on the dairy program, where we hold meetings 3 times a year with planning sessions and case studies and monthly visits to ensure technical assistance is given to the producers. So all this process allows us or gives us feedback, which is required both from the field to the technical experts that can incorporate improvements to the software. So we are working on a software to incorporate where we can improve, make improvements every year and make it ever more user-friendly. Some images of the work we do in the field. And these are things that are adjusted on the software. This is a view of the dairy management system based on the dairy farm. We look at the quality control laboratory, the database, at the Federation of Cooperatives. And this is open not only to the cooperatives themselves, but also to all dairy producers in the country. We provide current services to the entire sector throughout the country. In summary, they say, okay, this is your last slide. Good, you just barely made it. In summary, what we are doing at FECOPROD in the dairy area is that for more than 15 years, we have been working on the managerial technical assistance model. And we focus very much on recording data and working on the dashboard for buyers and producers. The software is a percentage of the technical assistance model, but we also need to work on the training and education of the extensionists to cause a stronger impact in the rural areas. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Marcelo, for your presentation. We now have a presentation by Mr. Álvaro Camacho, who is the regional coordinator of the regional cacao project, Proyecto Moca, the mobile cacao app, and providing technical information through ICT tools that can be used by cacao growers. He is a forest engineer with over 15 years of experience working directly with value chains of cacao with groups of producers regionally and locally, and he will share the experience of Cacao Móvil. You have the floor. Thank you and good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank and congratulate IICA for this opportunity of sharing the experience we have with Cacao Móvil. I'll be brief, as we don't have too much time. I'd share the essential points around the experiences we've developed with Cacao Móvil. Some of the challenges in technologies when we start with this app for mobile cacao, we wanted to find a new model that could be scalable to thousands of growers, incorporating the use of technology not just at work, but in daily lives of farmers. This is what we wanted to ensure uh, since we started. We worked on cacao regionally now. Um, So we wanted to see how public regulation of the communication sectors could help us reach the areas and users that were most excluded, mainly producers, but now we have more companies coming in, more cell phone towers, etc. But there's still some areas that are very remote and excluded. And also developing useful apps for farmers that could be available or could be easily found for them. So these are the starting points. Added to this, we have some background on our producers that are struggling. Um, we chose people that lived in remote areas with low productivity, that had little or no technical assistance, where technical material is very complex for them because there's much research in cocoa, but it's hard to have that reach farmers and be easily understood. So we looked at all this situation and we realized that the farmers were also part of certain organizations and processes where either they at one point were part of an organization, but the next year this organization was about to disappear. And then we also wanted to work on quality and better price. So we developed a toolkit for cacao, published guides, 10 guides for cacao, and developing the material, again, thinking of remote areas and the background we had. So we broke it down to key topics, all the science we've been working on with different research centers, universities, institutions, and governments. So we included that as the core basic knowledge of cacao. But added to these guides, we also did some discovery exercises to help uh, strengthen knowledge because many of these farmers might have been visited by a technician, a facilitator every 3 months or every 6 months or once a year. Some did not receive much technical assistance at all. So we were trying to see how farmers could also work on the guides through exercises so that they could see how the guides help them achieve results. So we tried to support them and motivate them into making their own decisions and doing their own research as well. And this is how Cacao Móvil was created, a mobile app that brought all this knowledge together with a series of tools that could help improve competitiveness for small producers and small organizations of the cacao sector with technical knowledge, tools, promoting the knowledge management, and also the creation of networks to share this knowledge. It was an important thing that we wanted to include as part of this tool. Here we see how by using the Cacao mobile app and the technology, we could reach organizations and incorporate these technical aspects to bring two facilitators who can then train farmers in different areas. Again, we wanted to ensure all the methodology, all the competencies could remain in the organization so that when we step back or a project ends, they still have these tools. And also always with a feedback and updating process to ensure learning is included. These are some of the technological tools of the app. I'll look at each of them briefly, but then you can also visit the site and get to know each of these tools a bit better. We have one, Cacao Responses. It's an interactive web application, and the idea is for technical or professionals to use these. The experts would use these to create a kind of a forum and a way to interact in a question answer session with farmers in the same area or different countries. So it helps to respond with experience and with results that have already been applied elsewhere. There's another web application which is cost management for post-harvest. This is how to record post-harvest data, especially for commercialization, for transformation, and for organizations. Many of the organizations we work with don't have their own systems and it's hard for them to do it. So we provide this tool so that they can make better decisions to see where they are spending more, where they're earning more, and how they can improve their whole systems. Then Cacao SMS is a platform to send massive messages. It allows us to send text messages through any telephone network anywhere in the world, whether these are by section or for technical group or to women or to certain organizations, to youth. So it helps us send messages on pricing, campaigns, calling for action, and other messages. Then there's a map of flavors of cacao. It's a visual tool that shows the origin and the characteristics of cocoa, of the 26 cooperatives we've been working out. Now we're broadening this to Guatemala, Peru, and Ecuador. So any buyer of the world will be able to look at this and see what they are looking for, the types of characteristics they would like their cocoa to have. Edgar is another mobile app designed for a technician to virtually help. It's a virtual technician to help producers that helps them develop their production better. And Cacao Móvil, which is a central app or the star product, this is an Android mobile app that has practical exercises and content, and it was designed so that once you download it, it can work without an internet connection. So the producer or the facilitator downloads it when they have an internet connection, but then once they've downloaded it, they can navigate through it without being connected to the internet, looking at the content, reading with their families, and applying that directly in their farm. And there's also a web-based version for non-professional, for professionals, sorry, and technicians that have access to a computer, and it helps them plan, download images, and print certain exercises to later share with their training groups. So about the technology, it's open source, it's free software, and it's designed easily so that any user without too much specific knowledge on programming can update content or add new guides, change images, add videos and others. So it's automatically done in the web and it updates the application. This is a picture of the website. Again, if you're interested, please visit. And this is the interface you see in the app for Android phones. This is part of the content. We have information on prices, there's notifications, other content such as videos, technical information from catalogs and varieties, other tools that can help farmers make better decisions. And this is positioning. You have a minute. Okay, thanks. Here we see the use and how it's handled through groups. This helps us create campaigns for training. For example, here we see some of the topics that are covered in different trainings and what people are looking for most. So by seeing that, we can also take action directly. There's also field methodologies, not just the app itself. We have the technical content in the app, but if this is not taken to the field, it's not a full tool. It's not working as we'd like. So this is some of how it's developed on the field, how groups come together and share, guided with the app. Again, we also have SMS and WhatsApp groups that can help us have that permanent conversation with facilitators and then facilitators with producers. We've also been showing them how to use some platforms, creating videos and other ways to share information and content. Here are some of the lessons we've learned that might help us analyze in other areas as well. It's important to have an integrated, inclusive approach. For us, it's worked a lot focusing on families. For us, farmers are at the very core, and it involves all stakeholders, families, actors, markets, using technology. The development of apps should be flexible and easy to use. We don't necessarily want them to be connection heavy or others because it's not easy to do that on the field. And it should be replicable methodologies that helps create synergies to extend knowledge. In the last two lessons learned, it learned important to have a network to exchange knowledge and lessons learned, because if you don't share your knowledge, it's not really that valuable. So everywhere we work, we are bringing good experiences and bad experiences from others to learn from. And empowering and access to market has to always be included, because it's not worth it to bring knowledge to have everyone improve productivity in all their areas if they don't have a market. There won't be enough encouragement for them to use. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Álvaro. Thank you for your presentation. We now have another presenter, Mr. Federico Bert. He is an agricultural engineer and doctor in agricultural sciences from the University of Buenos Aires, Argentina. He's currently working with IICA in digital agriculture. He is a co-founder of Agroconsultas Online, and he's a consultant for several companies and public institutions related to the agricultural sector. He was director of R&D for CREA, and he will be sharing information on Agroconsultas Online. You have the floor. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning. It's a pleasure to participate today, and thank you to IICA for inviting me. It's also a great initiative that I have to congratulate IICA on bringing it about to help digitalization happen in agriculture with all the progress that entails. What I bring to share is a very specific experience we've had in Argentina that is now going beyond our country. It's called Agroconsultas, or Agro Questions. This is a platform, a web-based responsive platform that works very well for mobile devices as well. And it brings together producers and advisors with experts and information. So that's the mission, to contact or bring together people. Our main goal, the ambition when we designed it and started it, was to democratize knowledge in agriculture, basically for all producers, the smallest to the largest, and all advisors that participate, to make decisions with the most professional manner by consulting the best experts available and accessing the best information. At that point, in 2011, this idea came about because I was working with a partner looking at a field of one of our clients. We had a very specific question from them, and we had worked in the University of Buenos Aires, so we had great access to the best experts. So we called them, and we figured, how can we ensure that everyone has access to these experts and not just us, because we went to this university. That's what made it happen. There's 5 functionalities of this platform. The first and main one is to ask questions to well-recognized experts. A user can ask a question, the producer or advisor can ask a question for free, but our experts do charge a fee, and they put a price on their response based on what they believe is the value of that. Then there's also questions to companies that know about their products, of course, and what we've done in Agroconsultas is bring them or make them available to answer. There's also a digital community. Around the 3rd or 4th year of this venture, we saw that many users themselves knew a lot. They could not just ask experts, but ask each other and share there. So we added a social media function to help that horizontal communication. Then we also have talks and training on the website, and COVID, of course, fostered a lot of this. And then a library of different technical documents that have been previously filtered by our technical team to ensure that everything we are adding is relevant for producers. All this is free of charge. There's no cost for users. And it has a model that works through dissemination channels and publicity. So that has helped us grow and develop the site in these 10 years. This is how the site looks. It's a capture, a web shot. And just before we go to the lessons learned on the experience of Agroconsultas in these 10 years, there's been over 20,000 answers available to everyone too, because these are public. And more interestingly even, is that on average, each of these questions is viewed by 235 users. So one person asks, and it's useful for them to get the answer, but then it gets also seen by 235 on average. Some questions are seen up to 12,000 times. The different topics are summarized here on this image, and they're related to decisions that are made every day by advisors and others. How to do fertilization, control of pest control, herbicides, agrochemicals. And in Argentina, it's related to its own agriculture, but now it's changing. Looking at medium-sized, smaller, and large producers. The past year, we saw that about 210,000 producers and advisors have gone through the platform in the span of a year. And from the moment we launched, 1 million have seen our site since 2011. Another interesting point for the digital gap and learning is that almost 50% are agricultural engineers. So we don't just have producers asking questions in our platform. We see questions by advisors and technicians themselves who later work with producers. That's why we also found that there was a good content generation through these questions and comments of our users and of high quality. 60% of visits are mobile. When we started in 2011, that was just 5%. And 65% of visits are recurrent. This means that our public returns. And there is a segment, about 65%, that has the habit of visiting the site and seeing what is being discussed there. Very few of them, if you look at the total amount that visit per day, ask questions. And finally, before I share some of the lessons learned, the site is very well valued by users. We've been working with user experience experts lately now. For those who know this, we have a net promoter score. If you know about it, this means if you will recommend the site to a friend or a colleague if you visit it, and that's valued at 70. And according to recent surveys, trying to improve the experience we provide to our producers and advisors, 79% said that responses arrived on time. And 91% found these answers useful or very useful. And so now, based on this experience, I could share some of the lessons we've learned in the context of what we're discussing to see how we can reduce the digital divide and accelerate digitalization in agriculture to ensure all the benefits that may come. From some of these are general and some are specific to our venture. First of all, our initiative confirms that digital technologies create opportunities and specific opportunities to improve agriculture. There's over 20,000 decisions that have been improved and gotten advice from different people in our website. Connectivity and specialized platforms such as Agroconsultas, but Cacao Móvil, as the one we saw recently, help enhance technical support and exchange of experiences. So this new world, this new paradigm of technical assistance and exchange of experiences. Of course, this is possible, and this is not a minor issue for those who have connectivity and who have the skills to use the internet. We've seen this from the very beginning, and IICA has very strong data regarding the fact that there's 77 million people in rural areas that have no possibility to access. So no matter how good we have Agroconsultas and how much we improve our site, people are not able to use it. Another thing we've learned is that private developers that can create high-value proposals and multiple stakeholders means that not just users benefit from the question, but experts and others, because they know what is happening on the field, they interact with users, and they can monetize or add value to their contributions. So private developers, based on how they create their business models, can create high-value proposals that are very inclusive because there's no economic barriers for, in our case, for the use of the platform. And last year, we saw that COVID restrictions help remove many of the barriers. So people that did not believe it was possible to virtually provide assistance or to have good training through online media, once they were forced to, or when they had no other option to do it, but online, they realized it was possible. This removed many barriers, and we believe this trend will continue. To close, our specific system is very important for users to have technical neutrality. There's about 150 experts on our site. They are very neutral. Users ask for every 9 questions that are done independently. They ask 1 to companies. Again, this shows how users want neutrality. There's great value placed on fluidity and agility in questions. So now we're implementing new mechanisms to ensure we have an almost real-time exchange with experts. The diversity of agriculture does not allow for automatic scaling. And in that sense, we've found some differences when we wanted to bring the site to other countries, other places. It's not a matter of copying and pasting. We have to adjust the value proposition to each country's identity and culture. And something else that's very important for us, and that can be extrapolated to any other development or solution like this, you need constant development and investment. So in these past 10 years, our venture has been very prosperous, but all this was reinvested to help develop it more, because every day we see new functions and new things that are necessary to ensure we remain relevant and current. That was it on my part, and thank you very much. And I'm open for questions. Thank you, Federico, and thank you for your presentation. And now we have the last presentation, which will be by Jonathan Castro. Jonathan Castro Chinchilla is Costa Rican agricultural engineer with a master's degree in technological innovation. He's been working for IICA for 10 years. And today, he is a project specialist focusing on climate change for Latin America. He's also the coordinator of the Digital Fabrication Laboratory, FabLab, at IICA, and he will be sharing the FabLab initiative. Go ahead, Jonathan.
And thank you, Enrique. Pleasure to see you. Good to see you, friendly faces. So many people here with us. I am seeing that amongst all three Zoom channels, we have almost 100 people observing, watching us, and making comments. Let me quickly go through this area with you. This is a hands-on lab that we have been working on. So maybe the lighting will not be the best. I don't know if you can see it. If I fall backwards, don't get scared. I heard that Microsoft was commenting. Okay, there we go. That is a weather station that we have developed some time ago. And it is transmitting data through ultra-low frequency, sending data, for example, on wind precipitation, wind speed, direction. It's a beautiful day here in Coronado, by the way. Look at that. This is our dry season. Now allow me to enter the building. We have been monitoring your presentation this morning. This is this physical area of our laboratory. I will tell you a bit about its history here. This is Luis. Luis is a young participant here. He is in training. He's an intern here. So this is the real world that I wanted to share. Look at the hydroponic plantation over here. This is work we are doing with David. We brought him here. We had some problems with the first edition, but here we are. No soil, only using artificial light, controlling fertilization point to point here. Very basic things here. We are giving maintenance to our computers today, those we are using. Open source platforms, we are very much interested in these platforms. APP Inventor for a youngster to come here a couple of days and develop an app. We have a couple of telephone apps developed this way. We work with GIS, the use of GPS for mapping farms and other things like this, famous worldwide now, the 3D printers. So this is where the youngsters come and learn so fast how to develop models. And we are planting a support for plants for this. This may help us out in the sun very much. And this is a small box. We're testing a box for vegetables on a 20% scale. What else? What else can I show you? An electronic prototyping table. As I said, we work with open source platforms. So when someone comes with an idea here to build this collar here for the bovines or a solar panel or make a box like this, we work on this very quickly because the idea is precisely to move into action. There were some important questions that were made. Let me see if I can settle down a bit. There were a couple of questions, important questions about the history. This type of laboratory has been existed for about 20 years now. MIT has been working on this for creativity and innovation. Not only is this something you can say you need the space, we have been working on this for 10 years now in Latin America, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico, Brazil has digital fabrication labs. But this is the first time we work on one specifically for agriculture. We worked with the Ministry of Science and Technology here in Costa Rica. They facilitated, for example, the computer equipment and some other important inputs. How do we work on two major lines? First of all, learning. We do not do things for people, much less for youngsters. We tell them how to develop the tools and things. And we want people to learn and to propose and develop. Those are the two major concepts of our daily activities, day and night, as we are here. We were hearing about experiences. I would like to invite you to look on Agroenlace. This is on our website and the social media. 2 chapters ago, we presented one on geospatial technology. We'd hear about hackathons and all these competitions was always a winner for a development. With the help of the University of Costa Rica, we created a rally instead where 20 young girls, and the first edition came from rural areas, from families that benefit from irrigation districts. For 3 days, they learned about all these technologies, 3D printing, and then for 3 days, they've worked on solutions. So we have girls working on alarms to avoid theft on their farms, to detect soil moisture, applying GIS to determine areas of with great potential. Girls between the age of 18 and 30 years, something we are very interested in, working with young girls that can really help us bridge the digital divide. Basically, with women, it is very interesting. The experience so far has been extremely positive. These are become very inspiring girls that come with their products. They learn and they develop. We want to work on this at a Central American level. We have been working with several countries in the continent to see how we can replicate and you don't need to have a laboratory. All you need is to have the will, the daringness, the boldness to do things. Agriculture brings about endless opportunities. And I will end with this. We will be with IFAD with the a rural prize with IFAD Brazil. It is a pleasure to have this opportunity to share you our open doors. Excuse me, Jonathan, for interrupting me, but I have been told we need to end our session. Unfortunately, we will have no opportunity for questions, comments. So all I can do is thank you all for your presentations. All of them have been very interesting and very innovative. I thank you so very much. And I offer the floor to Manuel Picado, to wrap up our session. Thank you very much. Thank you, Enrique, and each one of you for your presentations. All of them have been very good, very interesting. Time always beats us, unfortunately, when we have such good conversations. Allow me to invite you to session 4, which will be next Thursday at the same time, Elements for a Joint Roadmap. This will be the last of the sessions of this forum that consists of 4 sessions. As we have told you, we want to give continuity to all these initiatives, and we want to do this together. So we invite you to participate. And after the forum, we invite you to continue working, all of us together. There are several questions and comments, all of them very good. We will distribute those to you, but unfortunately, we have to wrap up the session now. There will be another forum that is being scheduled by the Directorate General. And without further to add, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Director General, the Deputy Director General, all the team that has been working on this initiative. Thank you for your participation, and we will continue here in contact with all of you. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye.